So a group of practitioners were having the discussion about their sleep habits one day, and one of the older practitioners that was in this conversation said, "I have absolutely no problem with sleep. You see, if I find that I'm restless and aren't falling to sleep right away, I warm up a glass of milk, and as I sip it, I do a spiritual mind treatment. And when my milk is gone and my treatment is complete, I take a shot of whiskey and a sleeping pill, and I go right to sleep every time." And I tell you that story because it's been an interesting week for me. I've had a toothache the last few days. Actually, it's been feeling kind of off for the last couple of weeks, but I've just been tolerating it. But Barbara and I are going out of town on Tuesday, and the pain has been kind of stepping up, so I thought I'd better go see my dentist. So I happened to go to a dentist in South Carolina, and I really like him, and he does good work, and so and he's less expensive than the dentists in Asheville. Okay, that's the truth. Anyway, so I called his office on Thursday and said, "I'm going out of town, I've got this pain, I'd really like to see the doctor." And they obviously save some spots for people that are in pain, which I really appreciate. And so we set up an appointment. Next day, I drive, it's a 9:30 a.m. appointment, I drive to Greenville. They have you, the way they do it there, they have you wait in the parking lot, call them, and then they'll tell you when they're ready for you, so you're not sitting around inside. And so I did. I got there a little early. I sat and took care of a couple of things. Then I called the office, and the woman answered. I said, I'm here for an appointment with Dr. Armbruster. And she said, "Hold on for a moment." She came back on and said, "Well, he's on a conference call right now." And I said, "Well, what should I do?" She said, "Well, give me a moment more, and I'll see what I can find out." And so she put me on hold, and then she came back and she said, "Are you aware that our office is closed on Friday?" And so I begin to grumble because I've driven down, and is it for nothing that I've come? Well, actually, she says, she puts me on hold one more time, comes back and says, "Dr. Armbruster says he'll see you." Now, Dr. Armbruster tells me once I see him is that he is never in the office on Friday, but he had a couple of calls he had to make. So he came in his Bermuda shorts. And he had the woman that answered the phone that works in the office, who also is a technician, come and set up a room, and they took some x-rays, and they examined my tooth. And it seems that I have a crack in this tooth that many years ago, I shouldn't get into or talking about Willard, but I had, through a spontaneous healing, some fillings show up on my mouth, and apparently they've run their course, because that tooth is degenerated enough that he's telling me I really should get a crown. But he gave me a antibiotic prescription and sent me on my way. And I was very grateful that he was there and that he saw me. And as we're walking out, he's going back to his office, and the technician is behind him. She says to him, "What should I charge him?" And Dr. Armbruster says, "Nothing." And he keeps walking. A dentist doesn't charge. So I wanted to share my miracle with you. And it relates to the story because, yes, I've done my treatment work around this tooth, and I've taken my medication. So the thing that I want to talk to you about this morning has to do with this idea of the primary foundational principle of our teaching, which is oneness. You've already heard it several times. Renee spoke of oneness. I, in the meditation, spoke of oneness. Oneness is this concept that transcends our ability to understand with our senses, because the world tells us that there's lots of things going on, and they're all separate. That's the way this experience of three dimensions is designed, for us to feel a sense of being separate, of having separate experiences, of all these things that are happening. But the higher reality is that there's only one thing going on. So how do we reconcile this idea that we have one thing going on always and forever, and we live in a duplicitous universe? How do we reconcile that so that we can remember it? Because what happens is when something goes kind of haywire in our lives, We suddenly forget that there's only one thing going on and that it's all connected. And that takes us to a place that we don't want to go, because when we feel disconnected and separate, we suffer. The basic premise of Buddhism is that separation is what creates suffering. So that's the thing we want to avoid at all costs. So what do? Well, we can't take away the duplicitous nature of the physical universe, the appearance of it. But we can set into motion some things within us to help us remember the truth about who we are and how life works. The fact that there really is only one thing going on. So every Christmas, we do this lovely ceremony where we have usually practitioners or board members or whoever it is that happens to be the right person. We have 7 of them come and light a candle and speak on one of the attributes of God, as we call them. And these things have been around for a long time. My first understanding of them came from Judge Thomas Troward, one of Ernest Holmes' early teachers, and the first president of the International New Thought Alliance. He had been raised in India and was actually a judge in the Indian judicial system. But he was from Great Britain, his family was, and he, after retiring, moved back to England and did wonderful lectures and great teachings on metaphysics and this thing that was being created called New Thought. Although in New Thought, we call it New Thought and Ancient Wisdom, so it's really all the same thing. And those 7 attributes that he claims, and probably others before him and since have claimed, is that these are the attributes of the divine. And what we do at Christmas time is we speak on each of these, and then we say, God is this attribute, and I am this attribute. And by saying those things, we confirm within us that this isn't just about an outside deity, it is about who we are as that divine presence in our lives. So that's what I'm going to do with you today, is we're going to go through the 7 attributes pretty quickly. And I'm probably going to refer to my notes a good bit because my memory's not as good as it usually is. So we begin with the attribute of peace. Peace is a great place to start. Peace is this amazing thing that is so much more than a lack of violence or anger or upset. It's this level of consciousness where you get that there's only one thing going on and it's okay. No matter what the appearance is, that it's okay. It's this idea that when we are aware of the peace, which is our nature, that life works just fine. And when we forget and move away from that, when we move into anger or upset or fear or any of those other ideas, what we end up with is a sense of separation and we suffer. So peace is a great way to look at how, by using this attribute, we can actually remember and live from this place of peace. And it's always wonderful to see this demonstrated by people. I love it when someone is angry and they approach someone who isn't about to go there. And you see this interaction, and it's almost like the person is throwing darts at him and can't hit him, standing right in front of him, just can't hit him, can't get him, can't hook him, because they're in a state of peace, which is their natural state. It's not supposed to be hard to go there. It's supposed to be our natural way of being, to go into that state of peace and remember the truth of our being. And when we do, we get phenomenal results. Things work out. Problems go away. People that look like problems go away. Because we're not willing to engage in that drama of something less than peace. So that when we use this idea of peace in our lives, no matter what the circumstances, we get much more of the result that we desire and much less of the drama that we claim that we don't. But it's our choice. It's always our choice. But there's never a time when we cannot be at peace, no matter what's going on. When we're clear of who we are, that state of peace comes to us naturally. Because God is peace, and we are peace. Power. Now, power is often a misunderstood word in the human experience. So often people refer to power as having some power over someone else, or people. They talk about our politicians having power. They have authority to do things, and as you probably have noticed over the last year, some of them didn't know where the boundaries were of that. But they're finding it. They're finding it. So what this power we speak of is the spiritual power that we have to create our lives, to control the conditions of our lives, and to make our lives work. That's phenomenal. And that's something that most people on the planet have no idea they have. They are disempowered. They feel powerless because they think that they don't have the ability to create their experience. But the science of mind and all of New Thought teaches that we do actually have the ability. Ernest Holmes said it outright. He said, we have the ability to control the conditions of our lives. Now you might say, then why do some people go through things that seem so unpleasant? Examples, Barbara having a stroke. This beautiful being in the back of the room going through several surgeries when it seems there was no need for that. Are those people unable to control their conditions? Absolutely not. They are absolutely in charge of their conditions, and they are on a path that will draw people to a state of enlightenment much faster than the rest of us because they are living beyond those conditions. They are not being confined by those conditions, and that's a statement of power. That's a statement of actually knowing who you are and living from that in every aspect of your life. I think in this movement, sometimes we think we're all about everything working out hunky-dory all the time. What this is about is remembering that we are something greater than any condition. We are something more powerful than any limitation. And that some of the most successful people in history have had physical maladies. You may, if you read into history, you'll find out about them, but generally we don't even know. There are plenty of people that don't know that Franklin Delano Roosevelt did his entire presidency from a wheelchair. He did. And there are many, many other examples of things like that, where people have risen so far above whatever a physical condition had seemed to limit them into some great and amazing outcome in their lives. So never judge somebody by their physical condition. Always judge them by their character. And then you'll find out how powerful they are. When we're powerful, we're confident. When we're powerful, we're clear about who we are and why we're here. And all the rest of it falls pale in comparison. Because we are power. And God is power. Beauty. There are two cliches that are often spoken about this idea of beauty. One is that beauty is only skin deep. I have no idea what that means. That tells me that whoever thought that was so thinks that beauty has something to do with someone's appearance. And what I find is it has nothing to do with one's appearance. Some of the most beautiful people I have ever known or known about are people who maybe weren't that attractive in their physical form, but had such an essence that they could change the world. Perfect example, Mother Teresa, Saint Teresa of Calcutta now. Not a looker, but my God, did she touch millions of lives with her compassion. That's the beauty that's real. That's the thing that we want. The other cliche is beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I like that one. I like that one because it is my choice to see beauty in everyone and everything in my life. I've had people tell me that I have a gift around this thing of when driving, of noticing beautiful things. Sounds dangerous, doesn't it? But not to get caught up in them, but to just go, ooh, isn't that beautiful? Or isn't that beautiful over there? And just letting it go, letting it be and letting it go. Because I want to live in a world that's beautiful. I want to be surrounded by beauty. That's why I come here to be with you. Beauty is not the thing that our culture wants it to be. It is something much deeper, much more profound. Beauty is not skin deep. Beauty is soul deep. And the beauty that we have in our lives reflects on who we are and how we see the world and how we interact with the world. Beauty is the nature of the divine, and beauty is that gift that we give to each other by knowing the truth. God is beauty. We are beauty. Joy. So there's this interesting thing that I find in life is that we have these aspirations to live meaningful lives, to do things that are valuable. We raise families, we start institutions, and we are in service to the people around us. Why do we do that? We can't take any of that with us. When we leave this life, all that gets left behind. Why do we do it? We do it, to my understanding, we do it because it brings joy into our lives. Not from outside somewhere, because joy is not over there. Joy is in the midst of us. It's our nature to be joyful. But we recognize it and we bring it forth in our lives through our actions and our words and our connections to other people. Some of us live joyful lives. So we're finding that every day in everything that we do. Others have to work a little more at that, but that's okay. It doesn't really matter how you do it, but the truth is, and this is the thing that connects you more to the divine in this state of oneness, is that you can't be without joy. It's there. You just have to recognize it. You just have to find it within you, that joy comes out of you because it's inside, so you bring it out. You bring it out and allow others to see it. And the thing about joy, of course, is that it's very contagious. I think it was Hafiz that said, I've got the joy virus. It's very contagious. Kiss me. Yeah. The truth is that the presence of the divine is joyful. And all that we are and all that we do allows us to live in that state of joy no matter what. Because God is joy. And we are joy. I think the human species tends to misunderstand the idea of love. I think that still most people on the planet think that you can give somebody love, or that someone can give you love, or that someone can choose to stop giving you love. I don't think that's possible. Because in everything that I've discovered about love is that when love is present, God is present. And all the qualities of God dwell at the point of love. Love is not possessed. It is omnipresent. It is everywhere and always. The thing that happens is that we forget, that we fall into that state of separation, that we think somehow we're being denied love in our lives. Someone once asked my Native American teacher, Rocking Bear, if he could help them because they felt so unloved. And he looked at them and said, really? Did they cut down all the trees in Asheville? Because there's love in the trees. There's love in the air. There's love in the light. There's love everywhere. Our job is to recognize it. Our job is to be aware of it. And that when we're aware of it, often by looking into the eyes of another, we remember. And we think somehow they gave us something. They didn't give us anything. We saw the presence of the divine through the windows of their soul. And love became apparent. So it's always there. Always there. And of course, it's through our portal of the heart chakra that we experience and can open to that idea. And there is always exchange of energy in our lives. But love is not energy. Love is something greater than that. It is something more absolute than energy, because energy flows and moves and can be stopped and started. You can't do that with love. It's always there. It's our job to know it, to see it, and to live in it and from it in all that we do. So when I say God is love, I mean they're the same thing. And we are love. Yes, this idea of light. Light is such an interesting concept. We start our celebrations every Sunday by lighting a candle. The candle stays lit through our entire celebration. And we light it to remember that the light dwells within us. The light of Spirit dwells within us. It is always there. That light is indistinguishable from the Spirit of life itself. It cannot be diminished. It cannot be limited. It is the true light of our souls. Now, it was the great master teacher, Yeshua, some of you know him as Jesus, who said that not to hide your light under a bushel basket. But interestingly, he had some other words to say about light. He was into light. Here's some other quotes from that teacher. You are indeed the light of the world. Let your light shine. Let your light so shine before all people. While you have light, believe in the light, so that you may become children of the light. God is light. Your light. We are light. And finally, nice slide, huh? Wisdom. An icon of wisdom, Yoda, from Star Wars. And if you'll remember in the very first episodes of Star Wars, Luke Skywalker, this young, precocious, doubting young man who was to be a Jedi Knight, couldn't see his way. So he required the teachings of the wisdom keeper, Yoda. And although Yoda at times felt a little frustrated with his pupil, he stayed with him. He stayed with him to teach him the way, to show him who he was. And I believe that wisdom starts at that point of knowing who we are. Wisdom is not knowledge. Wisdom is the ability to use knowledge. And the greatest knowledge that we have is that we are the presence of the divine and that there is only one thing going on. It's the application of that knowledge that becomes wisdom. Because you can know that all day long. But if you can't use it, it's useless to you. In the final conclusion of the textbook Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes writes about the fact that he would rather be in the company of someone who could use this teaching than ever in the company of someone that knew how to teach it. That's the key, and that's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom is not just the transfer of information. Wisdom is the application of that information in a way that makes our lives work. So wisdom is the key to using all of these attributes in our lives. It's the perfect last one, so that we may apply these attributes, peace, power, beauty, joy, love, light, and wisdom in every circumstance and situation of our lives, so that we may live in the fullness and richness of life every day in every way. So do with that what you will. I hope it's helpful, and I want you to know I love you very much. God bless you.